thought I'd talk about my gravity-fed drip irrigation system that I put together. Starting off with where the water's coming from, obviously got a rain collector here, so got two water butts sitting behind my shed. Put this extension pipe in just so I could hide the water butts out of sight, out of mind. They're both about 210 litre barrels, I believe, so it gives me about 400 litres of water, which is a decent reserve if you're just using it for watering the plants. I've got them hitched together so that they both fill up at the same time, and you can see I've got standard hose pipe coming off it, which then goes to an inline tap so I can control the flow, and at the end of the line I have a standard hose connector, so it just gives me a bit of versatility. Generally I'm just using it to fill buckets and watering cans, and also to fill up my main header tank for the drip irrigation system. So the flow rate here, it's decent, but it's not good enough to run the drip irrigation. It's not high enough up to create enough pressure, especially when the water starts running a bit lower. But instead I have this tank, which is a 100 litre old chutney barrel, I believe. I bought off eBay for about £10, and having it at this height is perfect. It's about a meter, 1.2 meters maybe, and at that height it does a perfect job of creating enough pressure that the drip irrigation works perfectly. I have about 30 chili plants that I've got in front of you here, and each of them have a dripper, and as I'll show you in a little while, each of them work perfectly fine. So the system, standard drip irrigation, it's a 13mm pipe as the main line, the big pipe there, and then using the small 4mm flexible hose to actually do the drippers. So that's the 4mm hose, and I've just cut off a small piece there. That's the main line, the 13mm pipe. It's a bit more rigid than the hose, but doesn't need to be flexible, as you'll see in a little while. So I've just cut off a small piece just to show you how it all fits together. It's pretty straightforward. The flexible hose, what I would suggest when you are working with this stuff, get some hot water nearby, so it just makes it a bit more flexible when you're putting in the fittings. See how the two of the fittings that are available for it, one of them is a dripper, the one on the left, and then the one on the right, that's what you use to pierce the main line. So the dripper, it's basically got a little ball inside it that controls the flow rate. That one there does 4 liters per hour, but I prefer these ones here. These are flexible, adjustable, and you can adjust the flow rate right down to minuscule amounts, or have it flowing freely if you want. So I prefer those, especially when the plants have different needs throughout the season. So yeah, you can see how much easier that was. Well, if you've ever tried this without making it heated up like this, you'll know what I'm talking about. It will hurt. When you're doing 30 of them, you end up with really sore fingers. So here I'm just piercing the main line pipe. You can see it makes a small hole, and I'm basically warming up the other end so I can actually put the dripper on it. So it's warmed up enough now. So I could use that dripper, but like I say, I prefer these flexible drippers here, these adjustable ones. So stick that on there, slides in nice and easy. Once the pipe does cool down, it creates a nice solid hold. So now you've got your drip line. You're going to go and stick that inside the hole you've just created, and then it's got a bit of a thread on it, so you can twist it on and it screws in nice and tight and creates a good seal. That's pretty much that for sticking in the dripper line. So obviously you also need to put fittings on to the main line depending on how you've set it up. Again, use the hot water, make sure that you're making it a bit more flexible so it makes it easier to work with. You can see there's a T-junction, so if you're going to put that inside your system, you need a T-junction. That's it, just slot it in there, creates a nice seal. Heat up the other end, make sure that at the end of your line you have a plug. So that's what this is here, it just plugs it up, so it makes sure that the water's not just flowing out the other end and not coming out the little drippers. So that's a nice little section that I've created there, but yeah, it's just an example. You can see that's exactly how I've set this up. 29, 30 of these all on this one system running off that barrel that's lifted about a meter, 1.2 meters above the ground level. There's a T-junction there. How I've connected it all up, you can see there's a main line running along the wall, and then off the main line there are 4 sections of the main line coming off T-junctions, and on those ones that come off from the T-junction I have the drippers all plugged in. So it's about 6 or 7 drippers on each of the main lines. You can see them in there. There's the plug at the end as well, and all of those all nicely fitted. And yeah, there's my little greenhouse. Unfortunately not enough space for all my plants, but it's a good way to see which ones do better, and I'm pretty sure the ones in the greenhouse will do better. Far more controlled and far more heat. So this here is my timer. I'm just going to disconnect it. Whoops, need to switch off the tap. But just going to disconnect it for the moment, just so I can show the drippers in action. But I think it's not essential that you use a timer, but it definitely makes life easy. You can leave your plants for a couple of weeks and not worry about them, because they're going to be on the timer and they're going to get watered. So you can go away on holiday and not worry about them, or not get a neighbor to come over and water them for you. So yeah, I've just connected them directly to each other. I'm going to switch on the tap. You'll hear a bit of hissing from some of the drippers just as the air goes out the system, and then the drippers start. It actually happens all quite quickly. It fills up with water and there you go, starts dripping. It really is as simple as that. It's not a difficult thing to do. It doesn't cost a lot of money, but once you've got it set up, it's so convenient. You can use it year after year. These things are quite robust. So once I've finished up this year, I'm just have to pack it all away and ready for next year. So like I said, with the adjustable drippers, it makes life a lot easier. You can see I have some bigger pots and some smaller pots, and obviously they have different water needs, so the adjustable drippers allow you to adjust for that. And also later on in the season, when the plants get bigger, they're going to need some more water, so you can just open up the flow. So there, that's all the drippers working, not a problem. More than enough pressure to do this. That 100-litre barrel, I use water probably 10 minutes for every 72 hours, and that doesn't use more than about 15 litres, I believe. So here's just an example, just showing the adjustable flow rate. Just to adjust it up a bit more, because it was only letting out little drips, so yeah, that's a bit better. You can see it's quite adjustable and pretty easy to do, really. Once you've got it set up, it's all good. So I ran it there for a little while and need to top it up, so just give that a top up. I find I'm only having to top it up every 4 or 5 weeks. It's not really an issue. One thing you do need to watch out for is debris, especially if you're using rainwater collected off the roof. So I've got these inline filters here. You can see the rubbish gets collected in there, any leaves or debris, so make sure that doesn't block up the drippers. So just empty that out every month or so, depending on how much debris you're going to get. Just check it out, but it's quick and easy, you can see that. And yeah, let's connect this all back together again. You can see the timer itself actually has a filter within it. The timer is pretty straightforward. It uses batteries, so no mains needed. It has inside it a small ball valve that turns open and lets the water flow through. Pretty straightforward. A lot of different settings you can use, how long you want it to water for, the frequency, how often. Yeah, it's about 10 or 12 pound. I believe this is the Kingfisher model. Yeah, make sure that you've got it in the right direction, so the tap going in on the right, and then where it goes out to the actual drippers to the left. But it's got an arrow to show you that. And that's it. Stick the system back on and it's all ready to go. So living in the UK, we have a relatively short summer, and chili plants need to get a head start for that. So I start them off around about February or March, under lights. And I use a very similar system for keeping them watered, just using this bucket here, which I've attached a tap to. Using the same timer that I'm using outside, I have all the plants under lights, like you see there. Those are T5. I hope this was useful to someone out there. If you have any questions, feel free to ask and I'll do my best to answer. Thanks for watching.